Welcome to Average Joe's Gym's Home Projects, where we do projects and maintenance at home that even an average Joe can accomplish. In today's episode, I'm going to replace a temperature sensor for my pool and spa system. It's a fairly simple replacement and a very small part, but is extremely important for the use of a spa system. Let's do it. Okay, here's the problem. My pool temperature is showing 143 degrees, and my spa temperature is showing 135 degrees. I use the Pentair Easy Touch system with the Screen Logic app from my phone to control all this. The pool and spa heater won't even turn on if it thinks the temperature is way above the capability, but it's not. Turns out it's a broken temperature sensor, which we're going to replace today. So here's the temperature sensor. It's just the sensor on the end of that wire there with a long wire to go to the panel. I got mine on Amazon. Here's what I got. As usual, links are in the description. I'll get a better point of view for you here in a second, but basically the temperature sensor goes into the pipe that returns from the pool into the filter. There's a hole screwed in the top of it, and the sensor just slots down inside. The sensor's held in there by a compression strap that you just need to loosen with a flathead screwdriver. Here's a better view. I had to loosen that strap a little more to get the sensor out from between the pipe and the strap. Let's do a real quick refresher on pool equipment. This is my pool filter right here. This is the pool pump. And finally, this is the pool return to filter pipe. The temperature sensor goes into that so it can collect the temperature of the water coming from the spa or pool that's eventually going to go into the heater. Now it's just going to be removing the old temperature sensor and the wire as it runs back to the panel. Usually people use zip ties or something like that. You can cut them with a wire cutter and just run it back all the way to the panel where you're going to disconnect it. Hey, when you're back here doing this, you gotta watch out for spiders, man. Not Spider-Man, this kind right here, spiders. Because for some reason, they really love pool equipment. I think it's because it's warm back there and there's a lot of different pipes that they can hook their webs to. Okay, we've traced the wire all the way back to our main control panel here. It's gonna take 2 screws, flathead, to remove the panel so we can get a look at where the wire comes inside. Small surprise here, that's not going to be good enough. You got to remove the top 2 screws from the panel so that it can lever down and you can take a look at where the wires connect into the board. It's not that there's a ton of wires coming up into the panel right here, it's that there's a lot of extra wire that's been jammed up into the side. Just try to trace it back up and determine which one of those things actually plugs into the board so that you can disconnect it. If you look here, here's where the sensors go in. It's very well labeled. 2 very tiny screws, and you just disconnect the 2 wires. Little pro tip here, when you set up your tripod, make sure you don't kick the leg and alter where your camera's pointing. Anyway, I'm just gonna remove the 2 screws, or loosen them, so that I can remove the wire and then pull it down through the side of the panel here. Of course, there was a zip tie holding it all together. And then, oh no. Yeah, it turns out to be a little bit of a problem as it comes out. There's just so many wires. This is where you gotta be patient. You gotta just pull the wire down as you see it come through, and then thread it through all the other wires, 1 wire at a time. Eventually you get it all out, and then you just jam the other wires back in the slot where they were before. Oh yeah, done. Okay, now let's install the new sensor. As you can see on the bottom of the sensor, there's a black ring. That's a rubber O-ring that is going to be compressed down onto the pipe to keep it from leaking where the hole is. The compression strap goes over the top of that, and you're just going to tighten it down like it was before. Once installed, we're just going to give it one quick wrap around the pipe, because if you snag the wire somehow walking around back there, you don't want to yank on the sensor and maybe pull the wire right off of it. You're just going to run the wire the way it was before, underneath the pump and then along the conduit that goes back to the panel, and you're just going to feed it back up the way you removed the old one. Make sure you bring out all your zip ties so that you can zip tie the wire to the conduit the way it was before. It makes your project nice and tidy, but also eliminates tripwire hazards back there. This is pretty simple. You're just going to run it through the bottom of the panel and then up behind the circuit board. Pull enough through to make the connection. We'll worry about the extra wire afterwards. Okay, this is going to be no different than how we disconnected the old sensor. You just find where it says water sensor and connect the two wires. You'll get a better view here in a second. Okay, now that your new sensor is connected, it'd probably be smart to test out the system and make sure that the sensor works. In this case, I forgot, so we're going to roll the dice and gamble on whether or not the sensor is a good sensor. I highly recommend you do this though, and not forget like I did. If you end up wrapping this thing all together and then jamming it all in there and hooking everything up and zip tying it, and then it's a bad sensor and you have to start all over again, that's just a bunch of wasted time. Take it from a guy who's made that mistake many times and had to go back and undo a bunch of things he's done just to fix something that was never going to work in the first place. Okay, so this is my pool and spa, and it's time to get out my Screen Logic app for Pentair and check this thing out. Here's the moment of truth. Yes, we did it. It actually worked and I don't have to take it out and start all over again. As you can see here, it's switched to spa temperature 60 degrees, pool temperature 60 degrees. If you enjoyed this project, please check out our other projects on Average Joe's Gym's Home Projects. And please like and subscribe for future projects.